to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, g'day folks, how are ya? I hope you're doing well for Tuesday it is today, isn't it? What a week it's been. I've got the hat on because so many people have been writing to me saying, why haven't you got the hat on? Well, I figure I'm inside, for one, and probably shouldn't have the hat on, but it did make me get the harmonica out. Not that I've learned how to play it yet, but I've certainly got the harmonica out. So there you go. I got the hat right beside me for those of you that are interested. The harmonica is still in lesson mode. How's your day gone? The ABC, God love them, they've turned to shit today, lost their backbone. They were going to stand up and fight the idea that that supposed comedy segment suggesting that a stick-up Gina Reinhardt's backside, stirring it around until her guts turned to a shake, I think was the quote. They've taken how many weeks to say, oh yeah, it's probably a bit over the top. They sent it to the ABC Ombudsman who said, no, that's within guidelines. I don't know whose guidelines, because there is a line in the ABC's charter that very definitely would mean that that piece of filth should never have been put to air. But it is the ABC, absolute bias crap, and that's all you can expect out of it. So at least they've been discovered and brought to heel, at least on this program. It has been removed and edited so that that piece has been taken out of it now, and an apology has been issued by Hugh Marks, who is the, well, the nominal head of the board, I think, and, you know, nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. The ABC will go on until we can get somebody in power who is prepared to defund the bloody thing, because it is, I'm just going to move that a bit, it is absolutely useless. We can't depend on it for much, and certainly not much reasonable or unbiased information, which of course is what they fight and charge us with. Oh, you know, all the mis and disinformation. I just wanted to point out, folks, the census is going, and I noticed in the chat, I think it was Gail who says, I'm not going to do it. Well, Gail, that's great, but they will hound you, and I mean hound you, for as long as they can get it to go for, because in the end of it, they're going to charge you $364 per day that you don't fill in the census. Now, that won't be the first thing you hear about it. Firstly, you'll hear about it, might be a week or two afterwards, you'll get a letter that says, oh, we haven't received your details. Here's an opportunity for you to fill it in now without being fined. Then you'll get another letter about a month later that says, oh, you didn't take up our offer. Here it is again, just in case you missed it the first time, loud and clear. You might get a third one after that. You might. It will be more of a directive to fill this in, or the next step is we are going to take this to the appropriate people that we've empowered to take your money, and they're going to come and take your money. They will rule against you. You will lose. We will win. You will be charged $364, I think it is, per day that you haven't filled in the census. Now, that could be 3 years down the track. You could find yourself with a $350, $60, $70, $80,000 bill, and you might say, wow, good luck getting blood out of a stone. Well, if you own any property, that's the stone they'll come and take it out of. And they've done it before to people. So I would just suggest you pick your battles. If you feel this is a battle you can win, then by all means, go hard. But we are finding people who are suffering on a daily basis now because they have been the warriors at the wall for us for the last, 3, 4 or 5 years. They have been the ones testing the laws. But now they, along with many others, are suffering all manner of things, from the obvious depressions that set in after beating your head against a brick wall against a government and a legal system that is hell-bent on taking everything you own from you. all the way through to being derided, humiliated, chided by your neighbours, and having them believe that you're some numpty who doesn't want to be involved with uh, well, reality, I guess is the way that they would probably term it. But is it? Is it reality? I don't really know. So, census night, learn how to spell Christian. I know there are 1,000 other questions on there that you probably don't want to answer either. I'm not going to tell you how you should answer these questions or what information you could put in there. I would just suggest to you, in the 2021 census, there were 9.9 million Australians who registered as no religion. Now, our guest tonight might be able to help me out a little bit with this, because while we want you to spell Christian, and we want every Australian, if they are, I guess, white, to identify as a Christian if they live under those sorts of rules. It doesn't mean that you abide by the Bible or you believe every word that was written in the Bible or that you go to church every Sunday. It does, however, get derived from the set of rules you might live your life under. Are you a fair person? Are you a just person? Will you do the right thing beside someone before you do the wrong thing against them? Do you know the difference between right and wrong, good and bad? All of that came from somewhere, and if you grew up in Australia any time from after we settled the joint, when Phillips came here with 3 boatloads of people and they started the invasion, then you have been brought up under a Western Christian philosophy. You may not be Christian, and you might be a Buddhist. If you're a Buddhist, then sign Buddhist. If you're agnostic, though, you're agnostic because you don't believe in God. But what are the morals that you live by? What is the moral code that you live by? Is that Muslim-based? Is that Buddhist-based? Hinduism? Or is it, broadly speaking, without a cross burnt into your forehead, Christian? And I would argue that we are predominantly a Christian nation, and while many of us do not identify as God-botherers, church followers, or any other kind of religious deity adherent, every day we live our lives directly or indirectly under the influence of what could broadly be spoken as the Ten Commandments, or if you want to step further back, to the articles of Magna Carta, particularly the 4 articles of Magna Carta, which pretty much encompass the 10 Commandments. Interestingly enough, those 4 articles were removed by the corrupt Catholic Pope who rewrote it. But anyway, that's a story for another night. Tonight, we're going to talk about that and a few other interesting things, and we're going to talk about it with one of the most interesting people we ever have on this program. A lot of people enjoy having this lady on the show, and I've got to say, I do too. She is an absolute delight. She has recently celebrated her birthday. Ladies and gentlemen, will you put your hand together and get your questions ready for Malibu Bert? Good evening, dear.
I almost felt like, now this is going to show my age, I look like looking at the image of me, I look like Fred Scuttle from Benny Hill. I'm saluting you. You know, you cross your eyes like that. No, never mind.
Wow.
For anyone at home
Now,
who doesn't know anything else, don't worry about it.
What surprises me is that you can remember Fred Scuttle's name. If you had have said that guy, I'd have known who you were talking about, but I wouldn't have been able to pick his name.
Fred Scuttle, yes.
Yeah,
No, I won't go there.
very
but
good.
Just to sort of backtrack a little bit, when you're talking about what would you put on the census in terms of religion, that feels like a loaded question, doesn't it? They want to know where your camp is. And I think you're right in terms of perhaps the Christian principles, to do no harm, to be a good member of the community, to be caring and mindful of others.
I could put this another way.
Jurisdiction, right?
Yeah, I agree 100%, and that's exactly the way it should be looked at, unless you would have me put it to you this way. Do you want a mosque at the end of your street?
Not really.
Because that's what it's going to amount to. Because if you do not mark something in there, they're going to say, well, you don't care what religious shelter gets built at the end of your street because you're not religious. It doesn't matter to you. So everybody who ticks that no religious box, do you want a mosque at the end of your street?
Is
Do
a
you want the
religious
call to prayer?
that is religious. That is a religious construct. So if
Yes,
you're
but you can be guaranteed that the Muslims are going to sign, yes, I'm a Muslim, I'm Islam. You know, they're going to tick that box. Their religion will be counted. But what do you do for the adherents of a no religion? Well, you don't give a shit about them because they don't care where the mosque gets built until it gets put in their street. Then they'll have an idea about it. But how does the planning approval happen to get the mosque in their street? They go to the census data.
yeah.
That's how it
So,
works.
well, then in that case, that you could talk about the Christian principles. Like you said, the 10 Commandments. I abide by the 10 Commandments. Do not lie, to cheat, to covet thy neighbour's wife, to deceive.
Don't kill.
Do not
don't
kill.
murder
Exactly.
someone.
That's right. To uphold
These
the
aren't-
Christian principles.
Yeah, these aren't, hard things to stand by, and it doesn't wed you by chain or anything else to God. It doesn't immediately adhere you or signify that you've got your place in heaven laid out already and all that. Not by any means. You are living, I believe most Australians who may not call themselves religious, who may call themselves atheist, are still living by these principles on a daily basis. And those of us who aren't, are on the other side of this fight. We've identified the evil all pretty happily. Now, if you don't believe in God and you do believe that we were right about COVID and everything else, what do you believe about the people who forced that onto us? You probably believe they're evil. Where does that come from? The devil? Well, if you don't believe in God, can you believe in the devil?
Well, can you believe in one without the other? Because that kind of doesn't make sense, because you've got to have that. You've got to have the balance. With good, there has to be evil. Light, there has to be dark.
Yeah.
A positive energy, a negative energy. These things exist. So certainly you'd have to consider the idea that if there is a God and he's the all-forgiving, all-loving God, then there has to be the other. And that just creates the balance. And I think, even if you look at the way the doctrine has been presented to us in so many subtle and not so subtle ways, like the beginning of the opening ceremony of the Olympics, they're giving us a lot of imagery. And you're right, to acquiesce or to not object is a quiet acceptance of that, isn't it?
It's exactly that.
So if we don't want to accept the idea of the religion, then it's of being a religion that we don't want, then we want to uphold what do we want. And if it's the values of the Australians, she'll be right, mate. We look after each other. We look after our neighbours. We do the right thing by each other. Those are still the Christian principles, whether or not you go to church or you believe in the Bible or not.
What about the argument of if you don't believe in religion, don't believe in God, you're not religious, you would ordinarily go to tick that box. You're probably somebody who will also be a little bit liberal with the truth. You might spin the odd yarn that turns out to be less than truthful. What would be so offensive about ticking or writing Christian in a box if you were lying about it? Oh no, I'm no religion. Well, you don't have too many worries. Why don't you just write Christian and put one in, take one for the team, so to speak? But people with religion get very divisive. People will sign their name over so you can go and win a prize. They'll get on the phone and give you a reference when they know nothing about you so that you can get a job. But if you ask them to say, hey, listen, will you just say you're Christian? Oh, no, I'm not into God. I'm an atheist. Yeah, but do you believe it's okay to walk around killing people? No. Oh, well, what about going next door and trying to knock off your neighbour's wife? No, I don't think that's right. Well, there's two of the commandments you're living by. You don't have to admit that they're commandments. You don't have to agree that they came from God or a burning bush or on a tablet. You just have to understand that you are living by their principles
I think
naturally.
what I'm curious about is there an other box? We don't know
No.
yet. You've got to think about the entire division of what's being done here. So if you think back, like I remember back in the 80s when I was going to a medical center for the first time, and I had to fill out my details to get it to see a doctor. For the first time ever, I saw a box that asked me, do I identify as Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander? And I remember thinking, who cares? I still need to go to the doctor. Doesn't matter what color skin I've got. I remember that emphatically. So right back then, they were getting you to choose. Now, the questions and the boxes are deliberate to goad you into a response that is required. It's like the whole AI phenomenon. Unless you fit into the criteria that they request of you, your question cannot be asked, like the ridiculous chat box. I would love to talk to someone that says, I see the chat box, I have to ask AI something, and the question I want is there. Said no one. Because it's not about you and your needs, it's about you conforming to our agenda. What we want from you is for you to ask us what our opening hours are. When I couldn't give a shit what your opening hours are. I want to know if you sell red felt hats. I can't ask that because the box isn't there. So it's about jumping through the hoops in a way that looks like you have free choice when actually you don't have any at all. You have to fit into their criteria.
Now, lazy people might take the opportunity just to tick the top box. Is there a science in putting no religion at the top of the choices?
Oh, and look how far away it is from the others.
Yeah.
So they know. So they know from a psychological perspective. I don't want to be filling. It's Tuesday. I don't want to be filling out my census. I've got other things. I've got kids. I've got family. I've got commitments. What the hell? What? Yeah, I'm not really a religion. See, they got what they wanted.
Yep.
Exactly. Are you going to go all the way down to the bottom where it says other specify? Very light. Some people will. Most of them won't, and that's what they're banking on. I would say, just as a hazarding a guess.
Yeah. So if you notice, they've broken Christianity up into churches. So there's Catholic, Church of England or Anglican, Uniting Church, Presbyterian, Baptist. But they haven't broken Islam up into Sunni or Shia.
Interesting. Well, I wonder if, just seeing it for the first time right now, I wonder if that minimizes numbers. So if you're breaking it down into smaller numbers, there's going to be a smaller amount. If you just go Christian, well, you might get, millions and millions of people. But if you break it down into Uniting, Presbyterian, or Baptist, or Anglican, you're going to break that down. So it's going to look smaller in comparison.
What about the new wave Pentecostal flag waving Jesus is coming churches that, live under the fish and call themselves all sorts of different names?
Yeah.
None of them are mentioned.
Born again. Isn't it born again Christians?
Yeah.
You could be a born again Christian. Where's that box?
Yeah. What if you're I don't know. Is a Mormon a Christian? I don't know.
Yes, a Mormon is a Christian to some degree.
There you go.
It is.
There's no Jewish faith put in there either, I notice.
Oh, you're right.
So you're going to have to write that down as well.
The ones that perhaps you're writing down are the ones that I don't want you to mention.
And why would that be? Why would they want those people not to be registered clearly and concisely in a document that is going to aid planning and infrastructure and planning decisions in every facet of Australia's growth for the next 10 years or more? They're going to use this document to help plan our way forward because they're still making plans off the document that was done in 2021, the one that said that we were 43.9% Australian Christian at that stage, compared to 86.9% in 71. It'll be interesting to see what we are this time round.
Absolutely. But then again, can we believe the data?
Will it be interesting or will it be horrifying? Because the day we find out that they could start building the mosque at the end of your street. And 2 years later, you've got some radical imam out there going, 3 times a day squealing at everybody and then revving them up to go out and do whatever mischief they feel the urge to go and do. Oh, but I'm not religious. I'm not religious. I'm not going to tick Christianity. I'm not going to write Christian. That'd be too fucking hard.
So I just want to add something. I just want to add something at this moment. I was doing a template last night with the NRMA about an insurance for in a property in New South Wales. One of the questions was about insurance about civil unrest. Insurance against damage to your property against civil unrest or civil or riots. And I thought, wow, I've never heard of that in an insurance policy before.
No.
Why would that be in there? Anyway, sorry, that's just as an aside, because you're talking now about people being angry about mosques and so forth. Just reminded me about, well, gee whiz, I know I'm covered for riots and civil issues in my street in New South Wales. Curious about that, aren't you?
Yeah, what have I got to be worried about a whole bunch of Palestinian lovers or conversely haters coming down my street setting my car on fire? When I've parked it out there one afternoon, I'm inside watching the footy with a beer.
Or does it even need to be of a religious nature? Could it just be, the youth of today that there are no consequences, just having a great old time making Molotov cocktails and chucking it in your window? Could be that too. It was a very broad statement.
There is an argument that there is an argument today that the youth do not respect anything at all and will go and do whatever they like, and that is their right. God help anybody who stands in the way of their right.
Well, there was actually, it's glorified in the media on news.com.au yesterday. There was web footage, because they love to do web footage on the front page of their website, saying that there were home invasions in Brisbane, and they showed footage of kids as young as 10. So, hey, kids, if you want to be on TV or on the mainstream media, make sure you're party to some break-ins in the Queensland region, and we'll glorify it and go, wow, look, they're 10 years old and look what they're doing.
12, 13, 14 and 15-year-old, I think, are the 4 kids that have now been charged, or one of them might have been had charges dropped, actually, the 13-year-old. Charges dropped and let go. The others are still inside after bashing a 60-year-old gentleman in Sunshine the other day after they were stealing from the shop I believe he was working in and whatnot, and he chased them out. They've got him outside and somehow got him on the ground. He's hit his head and they've kicked the absolute... Well, I don't know what they've done to him, but it's alleged they kicked him, beat him so badly that he's now dead. Now, those charges have been upgraded today to manslaughter. It's a bit rude of me to ask you, when should manslaughter charges be proffered rather than murder, or when does manslaughter end and murder begin?
Well, I think it always comes under the jurisdiction of intent, doesn't it?
Yes, I guess so. But if you punch somebody in the face, you generally intend for them to fall down. The consequence of that would be potentially hitting their head and, doing a fish out of water dance and winding up in hospital, either, dribbling for the rest of their life into something while they're being fed, or they make a sort of tempered recovery. We have a lot of new Australians, particularly in Melbourne, of African descent. Young people who have been brought up for whatever reason in families they feel they have to fight for everything. Maybe that was the case where they came from, but a lot of these young people have been here for the last 10 years, and they're 16 years old and they're turning up with machetes in one hand and guns in the other, trying to do their damnedest to hurt people, to intimidate. What's changed in the world where 16-year-olds feel they, A, can do that kind of thing and expect to get away with it, and B, I mean, are we just getting old? I mean, there were machetes when you and I were that age. We didn't feel the urge to run around town waving them. We didn't feel the
Well,
urge to take them out on a Saturday night
mm,
to go dancing.
well, I think it's really important to understand that this is not anything that's happened really quickly. This has happened over decades and decades and decades. If you go back through the timeline, let's talk about the 50s. The 50s was the mum and dad, the nuclear family. We all had dinner at the table together. Everyone dressed nicely, bow tie. We wore a hat. We wore gloves. We went to church on Sunday, or we went somewhere respectfully. Nobody made a racket. It was all about manners.
Yep.
Then came the freedom movement in the 60s. Burn the bra. Women don't want to stay home anymore. They want to be accepted in the workplace. We want a 50-50, you know, um, workplace agreement. We want to be paid like men are. It's not fair. So suddenly it becomes about women's rights. You break up the family. Then suddenly, we've got women working now that the unit is now eroding. Then gently over time, you find that we need to put the kids into the system because now mum's working because she wants to be. So some of the values start to slip away. Some of the drug use, make love, not war, against the Vietnam War, love is peace, all of that summer of love movement with Charles Manson in the summer of 69. It was about free love and we don't want what's going on. This is like funding the both sides. It's the desecration of the family unit over a long period of time. Then we keep going. There's more, drug use and, casual sex, and it doesn't matter anymore. And hey, don't be uptight, far out, don't be square, all that jazz. And then you go into the 80s, and then we've got computer games. We're going to add some violence to the computer games. And suddenly what starts out as Pac-Man is suddenly we've got this, beat 'em up,
Call of
showdown
Duty.
stuff. All
Yeah.
of that, and it just keeps going and going and going, and you keep indoctrinating the minds of young people with more and more violence. It's basically, what I'm saying is slow and systematic desensitization.
You and I lived through that video game boom.
Yeah.
Okay. To the point now where, I guess there are many people our age who are still playing those games on Xbox and PS5. I only grew out of it myself about 10 or 15 years ago.
You sure you grew out of it?
I don't have one. I don't own one. I did try and get back into it a little while, some time ago, a long time ago.
Yeah.
I went and bought a computer capable of doing driving simulation speeds again and all that kind of stuff, driving and flying sims. And I got back in it, and I just did not enjoy it the way that I once used to. And I was never much of a shoot 'em up fan, so I never played those sort of Xbox or PlayStation games where you were running around blowing people's heads off. There was a time I did play them, don't get me wrong, and thoroughly enjoyed them, but I guess you reach a certain age, you've blown enough people's head off with one shot from great distances, you move on.
Yeah.
How many times can you enjoy Halo? But has that harmed me? Has that harmed our generation? Are we brain dead because of it? Are we desensitized to the violence? As our parents were being warned at the time, they're going to be desensitized to the violence. And I have no doubt there are a lot of P-plated individuals who wind up smeared across their own dashboard because they were playing, Need for Speed or Grand Theft Auto, which I find one of the most disgusting games ever created, by the way, where you, Grand Theft Auto, drive a car around, do everything illegal and make money, including, jump out, bash women on the side of the road, and, rob businesses, all that sort of stuff. Real gangster bloody thing.
All right, so there it is right there as one tiny modicum of an example. This is all positioned as entertainment. So
and desensitizes people to it.
It's all packed. You go to any streaming service, Stan, Netflix, Disney Plus, whatever it is. You look at all the themes; they're dark. It's about deceit, lies, affairs, sex, violence, all of those things.
Just want to point out, thank you, Sandy, for still being awake. That's a really good effort on your behalf. Sandy at the Donkey Sanctuary has been awake since 2 o'clock this morning, so she was sure she was going to go to sleep in the first 10 minutes, so nice she's still with us.
Yeah. But she's right.
well,
She's saying, "Oh, part of the plan to dumb us down." Absolutely.
yeah,
To tell us
yeah,
what to think and say. I mean, it's like sublime messaging. We're getting it loud and clear that we can't think for ourselves, and they're even duping us into signing our names to documents that they've created, like the census.
yeah, yeah. Ian's on the closing off my point there. There's no consequence in a game. In real life, the consequences are real. And that's why I say you wind up smeared across your own dashboard. You don't just get to wait 3 minutes or 3 seconds and respawn in a new part of the game, or just hit reset and get a new car and you're back in the pits. All of a sudden, if you survive whatever accident you've managed to create for yourself, you have months of rehabilitation ahead of you, and potentially life-changing life-changing things that have happened to you that are going to be with you for the rest of your life because you thought it was a great decision to go out and do something stupid. Now, kids are always going to go out and do things stupidly. That's part of learning and living and growing up. We've got to learn from them. Now, this wasn't at all what we had planned to talk about this evening. But the fact that we planned to talk about this evening last Monday, and then it was Tuesday, and then it was Wednesday, and now it's tonight, I've got to admit, I'm
Actually,
in a bit of a
I'm
loss.
going to cancel it and do it next week now. Sorry.
Yeah, right. Well, listen, it's been lovely to have you on. So, what were we going to talk about tonight? Because it's completely gone from me.
We were going to talk about. Oh God, now you put me on the spot too. I don't know. We were going to talk about. I think the census was actually part of it.
Part of it, yeah.
It was about. No, I don't know. I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Okay. No.
We can't even edit this part out either. We have to show up in our glory and go, sorry, we don't know why we're here.
I'm going to throw a name past you that you may or may not know then, and
Okay.
I would be interested on your take on all of this. Are you familiar with a lady named Marina Abramovich?
No.
So in 1974, she's a Serbian or Yugoslav back then, I guess, performance artist. She created a very disturbing work of modern art called Rhythm Zero. It took place in a studio in Italy, of all places. What she did was stand beside a table that contained 72 objects for 6 hours. And for 6 hours, the audience was told they could use any of those 72 objects on her and that she would accept full responsibility for it, for whatever happened. Now, some of the objects were pretty harmless. A rose. I'm going to sneeze in a minute. That's why I'm rubbing my nose. Hang on a second. I've got a light right in front of me. A rose, a feather.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Sorry.
Sorry, I heard a rose, a feather.
A rose, a feather, honey, flowers, and then there were some other things. There were some scissors. There were razor blades. There were knives. There was a whip. There was a gun. And there was a single bullet. So at first people treated her very gently. They gave her flowers, kissed her, and carefully moved her body around. But then the atmosphere changed. Once the people became aware that Abramovich wasn't going to resist, wasn't going to speak or defend herself, some people began testing how far they could go. Her clothes were cut away. Her skin was cut with a razor. Rose thorns were pressed into her body. She was exposed, humiliated, and treated not as a human being, but as an object available for public use. At one point, someone placed a loaded gun against her neck. Another audience member intervened. By then, the crowd had divided between those willing to harm her and those trying to protect her, and those who simply stood nearby and watched. And that third group, I guess, really matters. The lesson of Rhythm Zero is not only that some people will become cruel when they're given the power and believe there will be no consequences, it's also that cruelty depends on spectators. Do you think that's true? Cruelty
100%.
requires an audience?
Not always. No, I think you and I talked a few years ago on another platform about I think it was called the Milgram experiment.
The Milgram experiment, yes.
Okay, so about the electric shocks. So
Yes.
there were participants in another room that who were in on it, but that weren't seen. And the people came in, and it was all supervised. And the guy conducting the experiment was in a white coat. Hey, we're doing an experiment. If the participant that you cannot see in the other room gets the answers wrong, you have to zap them with some electric shocks. And every time they get it wrong, they up the ante. Now, the people that participating that are delivering the electric shocks do not know it's only an experiment. They believe they are harming the other person. They can hear the person, resisting.
Screaming.
So screaming. And so once the participant gets because it's designed for them to get it wrong, the point of the experiment was to see how far people could go if they were exonerated, if there were no consequences. Alarmingly, something like 74% of respondents went all the way.
Yep.
So if you had an audience, there's a part of the human psyche that likes to be in control, that, if you're out of control in your own life and you get an opportunity where there are no consequences and that you are responsible for someone else's life, livelihood, or happiness or health or well-being, some people, that's just like a bee to honey. And the fact that she's already exonerated, and hey, there's no consequences. But see, systematic desensitization here again. We'll start with a rose, the gentle stuff. We'll caress you. It'll be loving. Oh, hang on. What else have we got? And so it slowly and incrementally ups the ante. And suddenly, as you said, we're pushing thorns into her skin. So this is sadomasochism, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, but isn't
It's
it?
not
I think it's a great
masochistic,
statement
it's
of.
sadistic.
It's what happens in society, though. There are so many people in society who've gone through. Let's remove, this particular part of the story and replace it with COVID. In COVID, we had those distinct groups. We had the group that swallowed the lie, the group that fought the lie, and the group that just stayed quiet and didn't want to get involved, did whatever they could to just make their path. They wouldn't stand up for me, they wouldn't stand up for you, but, they sort of sat in the middle. They let it happen. Whereas if they had have stood up and said, because I don't know, I have so many people come to me on a daily basis almost these days saying, oh, look, I knew I shouldn't have taken it, but, what can you do? Well, you could do what we did. You could not take it. And I know it sounds harsh and it sounds, rude to say it like that, but that's the honest truth. You could not take it. You made the decision to do what you did. Oh, I was coerced. Well, yes, you may have been. I was coerced as well. I made different choices. Now, I live a different life. I have different things that impact me than impact others. I could make that choice and be happy with it. Maybe others couldn't. But the flip side of that choice is you might have myocarditis for the rest of your life, or you might be dead, or your kids might have died playing soccer, or now can't play soccer anymore because to walk fast enough to push a roller skate, they run out of breath.
Yeah, but of course you've got to remember they didn't know that at the time. It was still marketed as safe and effective, so we didn't really have any data in those days. That's what we were going to talk about, that's what we were going to talk about.
The great Fauci farce.
The great Fauci, that's what we were going to talk about.
So and 111, I plead the fifth. Nothing says there's nothing to see here, ladies and gentlemen, than 111 times saying I plead the fifth.
Yeah, and that's true. But this is what I was actually going to say to you about Fauci and about that particular incident, is that you've got to remember people's worldview is the sum total of their subjective experience. So, for example, I'm having an experience right now with you that I could be asked about later if I was taken to a room. How did you find your experience with Carl? And I would give a different answers if you were taken away and asked questions of what was your experience of yourself and me tonight, because
Yep.
your reference point has to be your historical data. What are you going to reference it with? So people looking at Fauci have already made up their minds one way or another, either consciously or subconsciously, that they had to believe what he was saying at the time. And so they believe that maybe he thought he was saying the right thing at the time. Because if we go to a place where we agree that we were duped, that we were silly, that we shouldn't have done it, there's great shame. Suddenly you're going to find yourself not safe. I don't feel safe now, because if I fell for that, what else am I falling for? It forces you to face all the demons at once. Now, for some people, that's like PTSD on steroids. Oh my God, I don't know who I am, what I'm doing, or what they're telling me now.
Would that be
So
the
we
people
have
that
to
are
willfully
predominantly on
blind
benefits?
ourselves to protect ourselves. Sorry?
Was that going to be the people that are predominantly on benefits, are sucking on the government tit in some way, being provided for by the government, do you think? Or,
There could be
people who are
skewed towards that too. I'm talking just very broad spectrum. Because if you would agree, if you come to the conclusion, even now on this day, that back in 2020, 2021, 2022, that the government knew that these were dangerous drugs that were untested, that had serious side effects that neither stopped the spread nor made you immune. Oh my God! Now what? What else are they going to do to us? It's
That's the
too
thing. They've
much.
lost. We've had a mass disintegration of trust in not just
Mass.
government, but in authority,
Yes.
because our different levels, all levels of authority, have been eroded from COVID onwards.
Yep. Yes. Some people
How
beforehand, most of us afterwards.
Yeah. How does that change? How do we fix that? What can the police forces of the country do? And let's say the AFP could lead by example here. What can they do to regain the faith and trust of this nation? Because they certainly don't have it now. They certainly, the AFP don't have the faith of the nation, much less the faith of the military behind them after what they've done with Ben Roberts-Smith and Ollie Schmidt and others. Every one of those returned service people who have had to face some sort of interrogation by the Office of Special Investigation associated with the AFP and this whole bullshit witch hunt over Afghanistan, all of them have been re-traumatized. These people have been shown, unredacted photos of body parts and bodies and, the scenes where they 20 years ago, gone in, they've spent 15 or 20 years getting help from the various service arms for what happened back in the day and what they saw back in the day. And these OSI pricks walk in and throw a folder full of the pictures straight on the table and say, well, you're not leaving until you talk about each and every one of these cases in depth and prove that that it was a fair shooting. That's what they're doing. Oh, the dog's farted in here again.
See, nothing is an accident, Carl.
I'm prepared. So, oh, God. I never knew chicken going out could taste so bad for the dog and the rest of us. Just make my eyes water.
My eyes are watering just thinking about it. I could almost gag. Thanks for that.
Well, I knew it was going to be bad when my foot got warm.
Is that a heater or the rear of your dog?
Not even my dog. So it just comes here to fart, bloody thing.
Oh, dear.
Oh, shit. So we're seeing a few truths come up around the country at the moment. Things are, well, being, I think, thrown on the table in front of the nation pretty broadly speaking with One Nation. They've now got their first 8 candidates up in Victoria, and I've got to say they look like a pretty strong group of candidates to begin with. They should have, by the end of the week, I think they're planning on having their other candidates up. There'll be 88 in all, so there'll be another 72, I think, who'll be released on Friday. And we have a couple of people who are part of the show that have put their hand up. I don't think they know yet whether or not they've been selected. So it looks to me that in Victoria, at the very least, Australia is going to get a taste of One Nation, whether it be in full leadership or in some form of coalition moving forward. Don't think they're going to need a coalition. All the polls say that they're going to leap ahead. One of the things that I heard from their new Victorian leader, when asked about the lack of experience that One Nation, both statewide and federally, have, his reply was this: it's taken the politicians to get us into this mess, and we have seen absolutely nothing from the politicians to indicate that they have the skills, ability or desire to get us out of it. It's going to take people with no idea to forge new paths. I added that bit. Do you think that's right?
See, I'm not really sold on any political party, and I don't believe anything that's out there now fully serves the people, the Constitution. Anything or anyone that buys into the divisive nature of what's happened, whether or not it looks for or looks against, in my view, perpetuates the same flight of the same bird, just a different breed of bird. That's how I see it. Because if you look at the Constitution, the way it was intended in 1900, it was for all people. Where did all people go? We made such a mess of all people that it's like, we don't want those people, we want these people, we want those people, we want those people. How about we look at it from the fact of we only want people that are willing to be part of a loving, caring, live up to the Christian principles way of living. And that's it, to come from the heart center, the loving center, to do no harm, which is what the laws were intended originally. That's how I see it. But we're still not seeing that now, and I don't feel like we're likely to. Because until such time as the Constitution comes out and people start talking about us all as one, including the people we may perceive not to like, all of us have to live under the rules, to do no harm, to live kindly and respectfully, to make remedy for any perceived threats against thy neighbor or anywhere else. But when we start giving all our power to government are everywhere. They want to take over everything. We talk about milking the people. They want more and more taxes. They say, why are you taking my taxes? I already pay taxes to register my car, taxes to register my house, my land tax, the councils, the food, the petrol, everything. It's all broken down for the government. But the government could say, oh, well, we're keeping the roads clear. We're maintaining things for you. No, you're not. You're keeping people from creating jobs and companies where they could be creating the roads. They could be hiring thousands and thousands of people and contractors to keep our roads clear. And they could all be managed under an authoritative governing body where boxes have to be ticked. We don't need to be told by the government we need to do this, that, and everything else. Give the power back to the people, which is what the Constitution's about.
Yep, 100%.
We give it away. We give all our power away. Here, take it.
Is that because we're an apoplectic, lazy bunch?
Partly we've been spoon-fed. Absolutely, we have been spoon-fed.
Yeah.
We've been
But Australians
pandered
always
to.
like taking the path of least resistance. So if the government say, "Oh, look, we'll take that path. You don't have to walk it," and then they do whatever little dastardly parts on it, do we blame the government? Do we take responsibility for ourselves?
Well, I think it's a bit of both, don't you? Here's the
I think
thing about
I
here's
think there is, but I don't think there's too much personal responsibility being taken by too many people at the moment. I think we've been given the out by government to say, well, we'll look after you. You don't have to take personal responsibility. Come here. Oh, is your head not right? Here, look, we've got a plan. We can get you a mental health plan. If that's not good enough, we've got a drug plan that'll get you all the best drugs at the lowest possible prices. And, well, you won't worry about anything ever again.
You know what? That's a very powerful point. That is a very powerful point. We will drug you and keep you low, keep you not engaged. We'll throw things at. It's like a toddler. Here, shut up. Here's a lot of balls to play with and little distractions, and then you won't notice that you're being quietly squeezed.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the mental health. You look at the mental health of people that were born after 1986 or 1990. The psychological deficits are enormous.
Yeah.
People with autism spectrum disorders 1 and 2, ADHD, Asperger's, people, autoimmune issues,
These are words that we never heard in the 70s and the 80s.
Never heard of them.
I never had to learn how to spell autistic in any spelling class.
Nope.
I had to learn how to spell every other frigging word in the English language, but I didn't have to learn how to spell autistic.
Nope. And now you do. And now you do. And the average person in their early 30s, many, many, many people have many deficits where they're not able to cope. Their ability to empathize with others. Yeah. They become very clinical in their approach. It's really incredible.
And as Sunflower points out, if you have an opinion and if you can clearly articulate it, as I was doing back at the beginning of COVID, then you get accused of being the one with a mental health problem. You are the one that's getting calls from friends saying, "Hey, listen, I'm really concerned about you." I had one person ring me and tell me how shocked they were at what I was saying because they considered me to be one of the smartest people that they knew, like much smarter than them, but they, were shocked that I was saying this stuff. I said, well, if you consider me much smarter than you, why aren't you listening to what I say?
What they're really saying is that they're shocked that you could fall for it. They thought you had more intelligence than that. Yeah. And look, when we talk about intelligence, I mean, there's so many variables of intelligence. You can have finished school. You could have finished school in grade 6 and still be the smartest person in the room.
Absolutely.
Because you have an expanded consciousness to see through beyond everything else. Or you have people with multiple PhDs that only understand data that's presented from other, people with PhDs that they've done the research, and we believe everything we say. We read that and we go, oh, wow, isn't that amazing? And then they always have the get out of jail free card at the bottom of every research paper. More research is needed. But these are our conclusions thus far. So we're so impressed hierarchically by people that have, got degrees or they're professors of such and such. They were once babies shitting in their nappy just like everybody else. We are all the same.
Yep. Unfortunately, some of us have learned or taken the deal to be manipulators, controllers, and treat it as a game. He who does it best gets the most. And they have lost many of those points that we started out talking about tonight that might relate back to either Magna Carta or to the Ten Commandments. They have lost the ability to care for their fellow human being. I think that's the biggest thing that we as humanity have lost, our ability to care about others. And
that is the most important thing we need to do, is to care for each other more than ever, because that's what they don't want. They don't want us supporting our communities. They don't want us to be loving and caring. They want us to be violent, angry. It's like Lord of the Flies, little savages running around kicking each other. The red ants and the black ants in the jar, with the jar being shaken. The red ants and the black ants, they all kill each other because they think they're the enemy. No, they're not. It's the hand shaking the jar.
Yeah, and some of the ants have had an upgrade. They've had a machete attached to their right, nipper. So,
absolutely. So what do? They glorify by putting it on in the newspaper. They put it on the TV. They put it on the websites. They do and run these gifs of people being, slashed with machetes.
Yeah. It's an abomination we are living through at the moment. I'm just hopeful that we do not have to put up with it for that much longer. Thank you so much. Ask Malibu is still a thing. People can send you a question if they have one. Ask Malibu at vofhq.com. And we would like to use some of those questions in chats that we have here. But that doesn't mean we have to identify anybody or anything like that. So, but if you have a chat and if you have a question, thank you, Malibu, for making the time available to answer those sorts of questions that are put forward, and we'll no doubt be able to put them to good use if people get in. Thanks for taking the time tonight. I know you've had a big week. Happy bloody birthday for day before yesterday, wasn't it?
Monday. It was Monday. 3rd of August. Yep. Yes.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yep. 21 again.
I hope you had a wonderful time.
Yep. Thank you.
And I noticed you haven't packed up anything in the back of the house just yet. So.
What do you mean, packed up in the back of the house?
Haven't filled your boxes.
Fill my boxes. Is that a metaphor? I don't know.
Well, maybe 30 years ago it might have been. But now I was trying to obliquely say, without saying, Malibu, you started packing your house up because you are departing Tasmania and heading to warmer fields.
No, I haven't yet. We've still got a few days on the contract to make sure before it all goes, unconditional. So we'll see how it goes. But it's looking pretty good at this stage. So thank you.
Fingers crossed for you.
All right. Thanks a lot for that.
Thanks
okay,
for coming
you betcha.
on. Love your work. Malibu Burt, extraordinary lady, absolutely extraordinary lady. And I urge you to reach out if you have a question, if there is something you feel she might be able to give you a new perspective on. Then please do it. Ask Malibu at vofhq.com is that number. Somebody else who had a birthday this week, a very angry man, turned 79. I'm talking about Angry Anderson. He's also reached out recently and let the world know that Rose Tattoo will not be touring anymore. I think that's a bit sad, but I haven't seen Rose Tattoo touring in I don't know how many years, so we shall wait and see. A little bit of news here regarding a crash on the moon. Now, maybe it's not a comet. TradergirlQ, who I was talking about night before last, and possibly the night before that as well, she was predicting comets hitting the moon, comets hitting the Golden Gate Bridge, and comets hitting the Statue of Liberty. Statue of Liberty, Golden Gate Bridge, I think, as far as I'm aware, are still standing and no comets. But SpaceX did have a bit of rocket crash into the moon at a pretty rapid rate. It was traveling, quite a number of times the speed of sound. Maybe not quite comet-esque speeds, but it did smash into the moon on the date that she gave. We have also seen some interesting people dying around this time, or passing away of natural causes, or in the case of Perez Hilton, don't know what's going on there. Have you seen news of that today? For those who may or may not even remember, and there are plenty of forgettable reasons not to remember Perez Hilton, it was a thing. It was a thing back in the early 2000s, known mainly for "Stop Picking on Britney." But this Perez Hilton became an absolute tabloid bitch and really pecked people like only the way that a very annoyed gay man can pick on other people, and was just horrible and destroyed certain people's lives, made celebrities' lives very, very difficult, made an awful lot of money out of it. Anyway, He's had a bit of a flip recently. He's been reading the Bible, burst into tears, begged for forgiveness for everybody he'd ever helped, and then during the course of a live stream that he was doing this morning, there was something that happened. I am assuming only that there was a gun involved and he was the one holding the gun. The incident took place live. He was still alive when the police and ambulance got there and got him to hospital, where the last report I had late this morning was that he was still alive. But I've heard this afternoon, apparently he has passed. I don't know if that's the case or not. If that is the case, might be the first suicide of what could be a number of suicides coming up in the not too distant future. We know that there is a lot of, has always been a lot of talk about a week of suicides. Albo and the Labor Party in total panic? Yes, apparently. But it's not because Sam Mostyn is thinking about removing the government. There has been a thing that's been floating around on Facebook saying Sam Mostyn is concerned the government are, or she's being told the government aren't acting for the people and that she needs to remove them. The small fact of the matter is she doesn't have the power to do it anymore. Even if she wanted to, she couldn't. And she's one of Albo's mates, so don't even friggin' bother. And there is another march for Australia coming up, folks. There are the dates in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Canberra, Perth, Adelaide, and if you want to get further inquiries, you can email them, national@marchforoz.org, and find out where everything's going to happen in your part of the world. But I think they've pretty much got venues there for every capital city. Belmore Park in Sydney, Flinders Street steps of the station in Melbourne, the Roma Street Parklands in Brisbane, Parliament Lawns in Canberra, Langley Park in Perth, and in Rundle Park in Adelaide. There will be no doubt some smaller events that pop up in the regionals, and if they come across my desk I will let you know about them as well. Have yourself a bloody good night, folks. I did have a few other bits and pieces planned that I could show you. I will tell you that bird flu is an issue, but Skipper Pete in far north Queensland seems to have it sorted.
Yeah, there's got to be a couple in there, 3.5, 4 kilo. The roosters anyway. And then, well, the swiner. Swiner. Well, these are the ones that are only. Everybody's happy boys, aren't you? And then, well, the chooks, they're out. And on the runner.
So, Skipper Pete doing a great job. Those white ones, they're eating chooks. 3.5, 4.5 kilos of chook there. That is bloody good feed. And there will be no bird flu up there. He tells me there's too many shotguns. So, nobody will be coming onto that property sticking thermometers up birds anywhere. And they're just about ready to be plucked, so to speak. I don't know that we will get a video of the plucking. There is a machine involved. But who knows? We've all got to learn these things. Skipper Pete's having a bloody hard time. Well, not a hard time. He's been working flat out, putting cane in the ground up there at the moment. But if you look in the background of that video, there is a ton of cane already growing up around his house. So won't be long. They'll start harvesting that cane. And that, my friends, is a bloody big job where the last thing you want to do is find a dickhead on your road.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!